Welcome to our deep dive on New Year's Eve traditions.
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, so get ready because we are going global today, folks. We're uncovering some pretty fascinating traditions that people all over the world used to ring in the new year.
Excellent.
Yeah, we've got articles from Parade,
Mm-hmm.
the National Hispanic Cultural Center, even the University of Southern California and UMass Chan Medical School,
Wow.
and a really cool one from Ajax, Canada.
That's great.
Yeah, so by the end of this, you are going to be loaded with interesting conversation starters for those New Year's Eve parties you're going to be going to.
It maybe even inspire listeners to try something new.
That's a great point.
You know, these traditions really offer just a little glimpse into this human desire for renewal and
Right.
good fortune that we all share, no matter where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, before we journey to far-off lands, let's acknowledge the classics.
Of course.
You know, Times Square ball drop,
Yeah.
fireworks lighting up the sky, everyone belting out Auld Lang Syne.
Yeah.
Those are practically universal at this point.
I think they've become just iconic representations of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
It's really cool how they capture that, like,
Yeah.
collective yearning for excitement,
Yeah.
a fresh start, and even a touch of nostalgia. You
Yeah.
know, saying goodbye to the old
Yeah.
year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious about those traditions that are a little less mainstream.
Right.
What are people doing in other parts of the world
Uh-huh.
to usher in the new year, and what can we learn about their culture?
Well, let's start with something that always brings people together.
Okay.
Food.
Okay.
It's not just sustenance, it's tied to cultural identity.
Right.
Celebration.
Absolutely. Food is like a universal language.
Yes.
So how do different cultures use food to mark this special occasion?
Let's transport ourselves to Spain for a moment.
All right.
Imagine the clock is striking midnight.
Uh-huh.
Everyone is rapidly popping grapes
Oh, wow.
into their mouths. Not just a few. They're aiming for 12,
Okay.
one for each month
Wow.
of the coming year.
That's a lot.
It's a race against time, a test of dexterity,
Oh, my gosh.
and apparently a pretty effective way to bring on good luck.
12 grapes at once. That sounds like a choking hazard waiting to happen.
Right.
But I guess if it brings a whole year of good fortune, it might be worth the risk.
Uh-huh.
Is it really about luck, though, or is there more to it?
I think there's definitely symbolism at play.
Got it.
It's not just about mindless consumption, you know?
Right.
Each grape represents a month, and it encourages you to savor every moment of the year ahead.
Okay.
The sweet and the,
Less sweet.
Right. So it's a reminder that life has its ups and downs, but it's all part of the journey.
Right.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm kind of wishing I had some grapes handy.
Right.
But speaking of symbolic foods, what about those black-eyed peas and collard greens that are so popular in the southern U.S.?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Staples of a Southern New Year's Eve meal.
Black-eyed peas for luck, collard greens for wealth. A delicious way to attract prosperity in the coming year.
So it's like eat your greens and your bank account will thank you.
There you go.
I can definitely get behind that philosophy.
Yeah.
It's amazing how different cultures associate such specific meanings with certain foods.
Uh-huh.
What other culinary traditions stand out to you?
Okay. Japan has a tradition that's quite different.
Uh-huh.
Instead of focusing on abundance,
Okay.
their toshikoshi soba noodles represent a clean break from the past.
Okay.
So the long noodles symbolize longevity, but the act of eating them on New Year's Eve is about severing ties with any negativity from the old year, making way for a fresh start.
So each slurp is like cutting those bad vibes loose.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful image and a much more elegant way to deal with negativity than, say, smashing plates.
There's certainly an element of mindfulness and intention in that tradition.
Right.
It's not just about the taste.
Uh-huh.
It's about the symbolism and the mental shift that it encourages.
Right. Speaking of symbolism, I hear the Danish have a tradition that's a little more, well, let's just say it involves a lot of marzipan.
Ah, you must be thinking of kransekage,
Uh-huh.
a tower of marzipan rings traditionally enjoyed on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
It's quite a sight and a delightful treat.
Wow.
In the past, it was actually called the cornucopia
Really?
because of the sweets and treats that were tucked inside.
Hold on. A tower of marzipan rings filled with treats.
Okay.
Denmark is officially moving to the top of my New Year's Eve destination list.
Right.
It seems like every culture has found its own unique flavor when it comes to ringing in the new year.
Absolutely. Food is such a powerful way to connect with our heritage, express our hopes, and even confront our fears.
That's a good point.
Mhm.
We've talked about attracting good fortune through food, but what about those traditions that are all about warding off bad luck?
Mhm.
I imagine those are just as diverse and fascinating.
Oh, you're Right. Facing our fears and anxieties is a universal human experience.
Right.
And it's really interesting to see how that plays out in New Year's traditions around the world.
So tell me, how do people in different cultures try to banish those bad vibes and start the year on a clean slate?
Well, remember those plate smashing Danes we talked about?
Oh,
They
yeah.
take out with the old, quite literally.
The dish-breaking tradition. That's
Yes.
one way to get rid of any negativity
Yeah.
from the past year. But I have to ask, are they chucking these plates at a wall, into a dumpster? How exactly does this work?
It's even more interesting than that they actually smash the plates on their friends' and neighbors' doorsteps.
What?
It's a way of wishing them good luck.
Oh,
The
wow.
more broken dishes, the more good fortune they'll supposedly receive in the coming year.
Wait, so it's like a weird reverse gift exchange?
You could say that.
That's hilarious.
Mhm.
I can just imagine people waking up on New Year's Day to a pile of shattered china on their porch. I guess it's the thought that counts. But seriously, is everyone okay with this? It seems like it could get out of hand.
It's a tradition that's deeply rooted in their culture.
Okay, so it's generally well received.
All right.
And I imagine they have some unspoken rules, maybe sturdy plates only,
Right.
and no aiming for windows.
Right.
But it does speak to that human desire to start fresh,
Yeah.
to break free from anything holding us back.
It's definitely a bold statement.
Yes, it is.
Speaking of bold statements, I read about a tradition in Colombia that involves burning effigies.
Yes.
Those sound a little more intense than broken dishes.
Ah, yes, the Año Viejo,
Uh-huh.
which translates to old year.
Okay.
These life-size dolls are crafted to represent the past year, often filled with things like straw,
Wow.
old newspapers, and even fireworks.
Really?
At the stroke of midnight, they set them ablaze,
Okay.
symbolizing a dramatic and fiery end to any misfortune from the previous year.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It's almost like a ritualistic cleansing. Burning away all the negativity and starting a new fire seems to be a common theme in many cultures when it comes to these New Year's rituals.
You're absolutely right. Fire is often seen as a symbol of purification and transformation.
Right. In Panama, for example, burning incense on December 31st is a common practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's believed to cleanse the air and drive away any negative energy lingering from the old year.
So it's like a spiritual smudging ceremony.
Cheers.
Using the smoke to clear out those bad vibes. That makes sense. But what about making a lot of noise to scare away evil spirits? I remember reading something about that.
Yes, that's prevalent in several cultures, particularly in the Philippines.
Right.
They really go all out with horns, music, fireworks, anything to create a cacophony loud enough to drive away malevolent spirits. It's almost like a sonic shield protecting them from harm in the new year.
So basically, the louder the better, because it's a good excuse to let loose and have some fun.
Right.
I love that these traditions, as different as they are, all stem from this universal human need to start fresh and attract good things into our lives.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how each culture finds its own unique way to express that desire. Some turn to food, others to fire, and some even enlist the help of mythical creatures.
Wait, mythical creatures. You're going to have to elaborate on that one.
Let's travel to Iceland, where folklore is deeply intertwined with their New Year's Eve celebrations.
Right?
According to Icelandic tradition on this special night, Kais gain the ability to speak, seals transform into humans, and elves, yes, elves move their homes.
Hold on, talking cows and shape-shifting seals. Now that's a New Year's Eve party I'd love to attend. It's amazing how these ancient beliefs still hold place in modern celebrations, adding a touch of magic and whimsy to the occasion.
It's a beautiful reminder that even in the 21st century, we haven't lost our fascination with the unknown, with those stories that spark our imagination and connect us to something larger than ourselves.
It makes you wonder, though, where these beliefs originated, like why cows, why seals. It's also intriguing.
Right.
But before we get too lost in Icelandic folklore,
Uh-huh.
let's explore some traditions that are a bit more contemplative, shall we say.
A perfect transition. Let's shift our focus to Japan, where they mark the transition to a new year with a ceremony known as Joya no Kane.
I've heard of this. It's supposed to be very spiritual and symbolic. Tell me more about it.
As midnight approaches, the temple bells ring out a total of 108 times.
Okay.
Each chime represents one of the 108 klesh's worldly desires or negative attachments that Buddhists believe hinder enlightenment. The reverberating sound is thought to cleanse the listeners of these kleshs, allowing them to enter the new year with a purified heart and mind.
Wow, that's a lot of kleshas to cleanse.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how this tradition connects a physical action, the ringing of the bells, to a deeply spiritual concept. It's like Each chime is a step towards letting go of those things that weigh us down.
Exactly. It's a powerful ritual that invites introspection and encourages a mindful transition into the new year. It's a reminder that New Year's Eve can be a time for not just outward celebration,
Right.
but also inward reflection.
I love that idea. It's so easy to get caught up in the parties and the noise.
Uh-huh.
But taking a moment for quiet contemplation can be just as meaningful, if not more so.
Yeah.
Speaking of meaningful traditions, I read about one that takes place in a rather unexpected location,
Yeah.
a graveyard.
Ah, yes. The Chilean tradition of celebrating New Year's Eve with loved ones who have passed on.
In a graveyard that's unexpected, to say the least. It seems counterintuitive to associate a holiday with such a somber place.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about this tradition and why people choose to celebrate in such a setting.
It might seem unusual at first, but it's a beautiful testament to the enduring bonds of family and the importance of honoring those who came before us.
All right.
For many Chilean families, New Year's Eve is a time to bridge the gap between the living and the departed. They gather in graveyards, bringing food, music, and candles to create a warm and welcoming atmosphere. It's not about dwelling on sadness, it's about remembering loved ones and feeling their presence as they step into the new year.
That's incredibly touching. It's a reminder that even in death, love and connection endure. It really challenges our Western perspective on death and celebration, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It reminds us that different cultures have different ways of processing grief and honoring their ancestors. And it highlights the universality of the human need to connect with our loved ones, both present and past.
This deep dive has taken us on such an incredible journey.
It has.
From the boisterous streets of Spain to the quiet temples of Japan to a graveyard in Chile. It's amazing how these traditions, as different as they are, all speak to something fundamental about the human experience.
Absolutely. Whether we're smashing plates, eating grapes, ringing bells, or gathering with loved ones, we're all seeking the same things. A fresh start, good fortune, and a sense of connection and belonging.
You know, as we've been talking about all these traditions, I've realized something pretty interesting. A lot of them seem to focus on taking concrete actions to achieve your desires.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about passively wishing for good things to happen. It's about actively doing something to bring them about.
That's a very astute observation, it seems. There's a belief that by engaging in these rituals, we can somehow influence the course of our lives.
Right.
It's like we're saying, I'm not just waiting for good things to happen, I'm going to make them happen.
It's like those Colombian folks running around the block with an empty suitcase to attract travel opportunities.
Exactly. It's a physical manifestation of their desire to travel.
Or the Filipinos surrounding themselves with round fruits to symbolize wealth and prosperity.
It's fascinating how these traditions weave together action and intention.
And even those plate-smashing Danes, it's like they're physically shattering the negativity of the old year.
It's a powerful way to visualize a clean break and a fresh start.
You know, it makes you think about all those New Year's resolutions we make.
Right.
Maybe there's something to be said for adding a little action to those intentions.
Perhaps a resolution, run around the block.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure my neighbors are ready for that.
But on a serious note,
Right.
the symbolism of these traditions can be quite inspiring.
Yeah.
Even if we don't literally believe in the magic,
Right.
it's a reminder that we have the power to shape our own lives
Mm-hmm.
through our choices and actions.
I love that perspective. It's like
Yeah.
we're not just passengers on this journey called life. We're active participants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have the ability to steer the ship, set our course, and navigate towards our goals.
And sometimes that means stepping outside of our comfort zones, trying new things, and even embracing a little bit of playful ritual.
After all, what's life without a little adventure and a dash of whimsy?
Well said.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our exploration of these incredible New Year's traditions from around the world, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
I'm all ears.
Out of all the traditions we've discussed today, which one resonated with you the most?
Mhm.
And why? What is it about that particular tradition that speaks to your hopes, your fears, or your values?
Perhaps it sparked a memory or ignited a desire to explore a new culture.
Maybe it even inspired you to create your own unique tradition to usher in the new year.
Whatever it may be,
Right.
we encourage you to reflect on those deeper connections
Mm-hmm.
and consider how you can carry that sense of hope and renewal with you throughout the year.
And on that note, we wish you a happy, healthy, and adventure-filled new year.
Happy New Year, everyone!